Omar, wonderful to have you with us today. Glad you
Great,
could
great
be
to be here.
here.
Sorry,
Yeah,
man.
thank you. So this is our Grounded Toward Growth member interview series, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about you, about Three Gimbals, and your experience with Vistage. So if that sounds okay, I'd like to jump in here with some questions.
Lovely.
So tell us a bit about yourself. What led you to Three Gimbals and the creation of Gimbals as a company?
Thanks, Rick, for having me. 3GIMBALS was founded by my friend and mentor, Terry Dice. And Terry has a special ability to seize opportunities. And in 2015, he was presented with one. And he ultimately closed a contract, and that ultimately started the founding of 3GIMBALS. And a few years later, he asked me to join him in what he created. And it's been one of the biggest privileges of my life.
Awesome. No, that's great. And what year was it again that he started?
2015, it was August.
Okay, so about 8, 9 years old now, ninth year. That's great. So, as I understand it, Three Gimbals has two offerings: advisory solutions and insight solutions. So, can you tell us a bit more about these offerings as well as the services that you provide your clients?
Of course. For our advisory services practice, we help leaders successfully implement change. A lot of firms try, and I think we're successful because our approach is unconventional and highly effective. We don't simply craft broad strategies and leave. We help leaders navigate the ground game. Uh, we're hands on and tactical, much like guerrilla warfare for business. And we
Yeah.
surround leaders with wisdom and adjust our tactics in real time based on the circumstances they're facing. And
Okay.
so we work to really understand the personal and professional motivations that drive the people around the change effort, because that's truly how support gets secured. And so our methodology blends art, science, and incorporates political science and psychology and critical analysis and design thinking. And so we have uh, perfected that methodology to help us become very effective for our leader clients.
Oh, wow. Can you give some examples of the kind of work you do?
Yeah, we're helping a client right now navigate a big bureaucracy to implement a new software methodology where it's pretty unpopular because it actually disrupts a lot of people's comfortability. So we're helping him understand the stakeholder environment and navigate the power in the system so that he can ultimately get what he wants done because it's going to benefit the warfighter downrange.
Ah, great. Oh, that's good. That's cool. Good, good, good. Wonderful. Any other examples?
Well, for our other side of the business,
Yeah,
uh, you mentioned insight solutions. We've
yeah.
developed a finely tuned human machine solution called Omen. And we've built Omen to be flexible so that it can shed light on virtually any defense, intelligence, or law enforcement topic imaginable.
Right.
And Omen's data layers and dashboards and automated alerts, they're all unclassified, which makes it easier to get into the hands of our government clients and its partner nations.
Okay, so you're gathering non-classified data and oftentimes selling it to.
We're mining and leveraging commercially available information.
Okay,
And
and your clients are government agencies,
that's correct.
private companies as well?
Yes, that's correct. So we have core customers are government agencies, but there's everyone has a need to know in business, right? Everyone wants to have decision advantage, and the way you acquire that is by knowing things that you weren't meant to know or that are not commonly known, but you know it, and then you can actually have asymmetric advantage because well, knowledge is power, and so both commercial and government clients require uh, that level of insight, and so Omen can absolutely support both use cases. Our primary core book right now is government based, but by building the system the way we built it, it can absolutely transfer to any entity trying to get an advantage in whatever objective they have in mind.
So if I'm a government agency and I have classified data information, um, w- why is it I need this non-classified data that you're creating?
Well, because oftentimes we're able to acquire and develop and compile intel faster than it is to task a big spy satellite the size of a school bus. And what's going on, these commercial sensors are producing a lot more information at a much more ready pace. And so if we're able to take that information and produce unclassified products, there's no need to declassify it when we trade it with our partner nations. And that helps America become the partner of choice because we're giving critical information to our partners and helping them when they need it most. Omen was used to uncover a network of over 300 covert Chinese chemical companies involved in the illegal production of chemical precursors fueling the opioid crisis. Our solution did that.
Wow.
It was also used to track down and pinpoint the location of a cartel operative who had been evading capture for over a year, and we did it in 72 hours. And even our client was like, man, finding this dude is going to be a long shot. But Omen and the team operating the solution did what they do best and successfully settled that matter. We're collecting information, we're acquiring information, and in the absence of having the information, we create it by stitching together various data sets to create our own novel, unique, proprietary data sets. And we have a system with a pretty sophisticated cyber infrastructure and core, a lot of data science, machine learning, a lot of automation. And we really interrogate this data until you start to see the patterns and start to connect data nodes in ways that start to reveal things. And then our technical solution operators, the people who manage and actually operate Omen, help extract meaning out of those data connections. And ultimately, we produce a variety of different deliverables. Oftentimes, the commercial insights we come up with help tip and cue classified analysis. So they can take our products and walk it into a secure facility and enrich it with classified information.
Interesting.
And we've given the classified sensors and other folks and technicians on that side of the table a better place to look much quicker because we've already done some of that ground analysis. Yeah, Omen also played a key role in helping avert a potential military crisis in Latin America. We developed timely intelligence to a head of a nation and able to calm his nerves because he believed that an attack from a neighboring country was imminent. And Omen's insights helped prevent unnecessary escalation at a critical moment in South American geopolitics.
Wow. Now, how is it you have the ongoing working relationship with a client that something that is immediate as that example, that you're already engaged with that client and they're not going through a months long RFP process to try and contract with you to do something that they need in 48 hours?
That's a really good question. I think, our clients recognize that there's always something popping off geopolitically in this world. So what they do is they get us on contract for at least a year. And we are constantly turning out analysis about whatever they want us to look into. And oftentimes we're letting them know, you ought to know about this thing. You didn't ask us to look into this, but it's something that you need to know about.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes when big things do pop off, we're already on contract. We already have rapport and intimacy with the client where we can just pivot to whatever the crisis du jour is.
And it sounds like you may be actually tipping off your clients to things going on that they may not be aware of.
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
I think they rely on us to keep an eye on things that they may not be tracking.
Yeah.
And constantly learning from them about what's important to them and the national security objectives. So we're constantly pinging back and forth so that we can always focus on the highest, most important events and scenarios.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, it's exciting stuff. I know we've enjoyed hearing you at times tell about some of the work you're doing. So thank you. So you joined Vistage as a chief executive member back in, I think, November 2022.
That's right.
What if you can think back, almost 2 years now, what was it that attracted you to join Vistage, and what has been the most valuable aspect of your membership?
Terry, who I mentioned earlier, encouraged me to join. He was a member for a long time and found immense value in it after he found the right chair. I always think authentic self-confidence is the ability to say, I don't know. And at Vistage, we get the opportunity to say, I don't know quite a lot. And that's truly a privilege when you help lead an organization. Another friend of mine once said, organizations like Vistage allow you to be intellectually naked. Like you actually
Yeah.
just can be vulnerable and ask for help for once rather than always have the answer to guide your people. And I
Yeah.
think that truly is the biggest value of having a safe place like Vistage to talk about real business challenges and opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you said that well. I mean, a lot of our members, you think about who your typical key constituents are, and everyone's got an agenda, right? If you have investors, they have an agenda. You have a board, they have an agenda. You have a C suite, you've got even family members. Everyone's got an agenda, but here's the one place where the only agenda is helping each other out. It's strictly confidential. Everyone's under an NDA, and we can really say things and discuss things that may not be able to discuss almost anywhere else. So well said. Yeah. So Omar, one of the key aspects of our monthly meeting is the issues and opportunities that members present that they would like the input from other members around. And then we call that issue processing. So, what's been your experience with the simple issue processing methodology that we use? And what value have you gotten out of any issue that you've put in front of the group?
It's a great framework to use. Probably my favorite part of our Vistage meetings. Naturally, I like hacks. I like smart cuts. And issue processing is an efficient yet thorough way to get the perspectives of your peers in a format that yields more fruit than simply asking them for feedback. And it helps illuminate the underlying questions, which is really what you're trying to solve for often, but you're dealing with the symptoms. And so by having them ask back the questions that you ask them, there's an opportunity to really reframe the problem you're trying to solve for. And then you can actually get solutions or ideas for solving that thing. And then I love that there's an accountability mechanism because once that stuff gets actually talked about in the room, Rick, you and Don, don't let us escape or wiggle out of talking about progress at our next meeting
Yeah,
regarding what we did about that thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think that level of accountability and that level of illumination truly makes that part of the Vistage Day super impactful.
Awesome. Well, it really is the highlight, and I love to tell the story of the first Vistage meeting with Bob Norse, and essentially that's what it was. He put in front of the group what he was wrestling with, and as he said, it's not so much your feedback or recommendations, but the questions you asked me about my issue. That's what
Mhm.
the value is. Give depth and breadth to the issue that the members really wrestling with. So yeah, thank you. Another key element is that we talk a lot about is growth, and we talk about it in three ways. First is business growth. How you scaling the business, and you've had, like everybody, we've had ups and downs, and you're on the right trajectory right now. So there's business growth, and then there's organization growth. So as the business grows, the organization has to morph. Sometimes you need different talent, stronger talent. So there's organization growth. And then there's personal growth, the growth that oftentimes we're discussing in the one to one sessions. And
Mhm.
it's really about you and your leadership. So if you could touch on the three types of growth as you've experienced it: business growth, organization growth, and personal growth.
Yeah, running a little company is challenging, especially a company that does business with a big bureaucracy like the US government.
Yeah.
Uh, it's really hard. The failure rate for companies like ours is high because the government, as much as they try with their small business programs, makes it really hard to do business with them. And so, business growth, um, when you land a contract, it doesn't just rain, it's a tornado.
Yeah.
Big contracts that my commercial peers are jealous of. And it takes a long time to close a deal. I mean, the sales cycle can be in excess of a year and a half, 2 years. Sometimes you get lucky and it's 6 months.
Yeah.
And so, from a business growth perspective, the patience to play the long game is always important. And we're starting to see a lot of that. Starting to see a lot of that show up for us now because we've been planting seeds for the last 12 to 18 months. And so we are growing in different ways with different new customers
Yep.
and trying to expand our footprint with existing customers.
Great.
When you talk about organizational growth, Like I mentioned earlier, Omen, our Intel or our Insight solution, is very much human machine centric. So as our solutions get sold, so do we also need to increase our capacity for people. And so organizationally, that's causing us to build more systems, right? We're a little company. All we really want to do is delight the socks off our customers and do things for them so that we become sticky and we become trusted partners. And when you actually start to grow an organization, as we start to scale, we have to become more deliberate, intentional about the systems we have in place and business processes. And so organizationally, our company is starting to grow into that. And it's a little bit different than the way we've always done business, which is just focus on the customer and ruthlessly delight them. Now we got to think a little bit more about the company, about the cost, about utilization, about the billability. And so we're starting to see a lot of that good tension show up because that's a sign of a company that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And finally, personal growth. I'd say, I mean, there's been so many opportunities where like you're constantly growing every single day.
Yeah.
You can't really escape the opportunities for growth because the business calls for you to stand up and get something done. There are no two challenges alike in this kind of company or in this kind of business because there's so many things happening at one time, which is constantly challenging you to figure it out. So our monthly Vistage meetings is a good point in time where you can bring all that uncertainty into one room and get clarity and walk out and have a successful 30 days following. And
Yeah.
so I mean, Vistage has been instrumental in a little company that's starting to become a real going concern.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I think Vistage has helped kind of be the chassis for that car as it moves forward.
Oh, that's well said. Great. Well, thank you. Um, as I think about the combination of business, organization, and personal growth, one of the things we discuss a lot is how do I spend less time working in the business so I can spend more time working on the business, and that requires an organization and team around you to free you up as the president of 3GIMBALS to be able to do this work. So how have you wrestled with that balance between your time in the business versus on the business? And I know it's a seesaw. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you just kind of show up wherever the company needs at the time.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, like it'd be nice to have like we're getting to the point where we really have like we made some pretty strategic investments in people where we can leverage our time and delegate a lot, and the team is incredible. But sometimes you need to roll up your sleeves and get in and do things that you were doing 2 years ago, but you're doing it like it's the first time today because the business requires it. So working in and on the business is absolutely going to be like we've gotten to a point where we can actually have that and it's not so blurred. But when
Yeah.
things show up, like a client that you actually close personally, you got to be in the business delivering to that client and
Yeah.
then transferring and delegating and transitioning that work to the second team as you work your way into more of an account executive kind of role. And so, again, we're very flexible and agile, and we do whatever we have to do to make the customer completely love us. And oftentimes that means hanging around with them and working on delivery, just as it means building the organization for the other people to do that at some point in the future.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, great. So as you step back from your experience with Vistage, um, what kind of person or CEO would benefit the most from being a member at Vistage? What are some of the key characteristics of someone who makes for
Mhm.
a powerful member and would get the most out of it?
I think a learning CEO, a CEO that's open to learn, to do things better, who has a desire to lead optimally. First time CEOs, even second time CEOs, Vistage would be absolutely critical, I think, for that person's development, just because there's so much you don't know that you don't know. And Vistage helps you shine a light on those things.
Excellent. One of the things that comes up oftentimes by prospective members is, oh my gosh, how do I take a day a month out of my calendar? So, time management, managing the time, to be there as well as for our one-to-ones is critical. How do you manage that time? How have you figured out how to get to the meetings and be there for our one-to-ones?
Time is a choice, as we all know. If you really want to know what a person cares about, audit their calendar and audit their bank account.
Yeah,
Because where we spend our time and where we spend our money says a lot about us.
yeah,
And if improving your ability to lead is important, then you'll make the time. But like any commitment of time, there are trade-offs. And something's not going to get done as a result of you being in a room with other CEO peers for 8 hours a day. It's just the way it goes. But if like all those other things that you need to get done could get done better if you were a better leader, then this is the right investment of time. Give it a go. Try it for a few sessions and see if you're getting a ROI.
yeah. Excellent. Good. Thank you. That's helpful. Um, so much of what we've created is a group of people who get to know each other. I mean, there's friendships, um, and relationships really grow and flourish as a part of being in Vistage. What would you describe as the culture of the group that you're in, and what are some of the relationships like for you with other members?
It's a good group of people. I truly have a vested interest in making you successful. Super resourceful group of people. I don't know how many times we're trading contacts and saying, you got to talk to this person or you ought to like get in touch with them because they can help you with this problem. I can't help, but I know someone that can.
Yeah.
And so I think the culture of our group, um, I think we all take our work seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you maintain a lightness. That's how you maintain the sense of camaraderie and actually being vulnerable with these people,
Yeah.
because you know they're smart, you know they're successful, and you know they can help you. Uh, but it also doesn't feel so bad asking for help because, well, the culture is one that makes that okay.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've been so happy to see really just evolve with our groups, um, obviously, confidentiality is key, and we're very purposeful in not having people who are directly competing with each other on a given team. Um, and yet, when you look across our two chief executive groups, we probably have what, 6 or 8 members who are doing government contract work, much like you are. So earlier this year, we had our first what we call, the GovCon roundtable, and those members came together with some of our trusted advisors, as well as some people outside. We call them free radicals outside of the group, to discuss what are some of the big issues going on in the world today, and what are the implications of those for doing government contract work. And as we did that, we were able to share with each other remarkable things in terms of what you're doing, what you're wrestling with, and people had advice, counsel. But what we discovered is there's far less of an issue of competing, much more of an opportunity for alignment.
Hmm.
So I know you're on a small little committee here. We're planning our next GovCon roundtable for 2025. Talk a little bit about that. What do you see as opportunities to work with other members and align with other members as opposed to just somebody else?
Yeah, there's so many opportunities that come out of the government, both opportunities that have formal solicitations, like they're actually named solicitations that companies are going after or teaming to go after. And there's other opportunities that you're forming and shaping yourself by standing with the customer day to day and understanding their gaps and needs. And so there's so much money flowing in the government. So I'm never too worried about competitors unless they're like straight up competitors and we know they're trying to go after the same piece of work.
Right.
But oftentimes, 1 + 1 = 3 if you can line up with the right partners.
Yeah.
And so I have an abundance mindset when it comes to collaborating with other firms. Um, and hell, they can take you in different places that you're not currently supporting and vice versa
Yeah.
because they have certain qualifications that are synergistic. And
Yeah.
so Vistage, I mean, and you do this, I mean, you're very careful to make sure that firms that you bring in or members that you bring in that represent various firms are anti-competitive.
Yeah.
and they're more complementary, and you give us a chance to weigh in on that. So I think as long as you keep having that due diligence, then you're actually like creating opportunities for collaboration, not ruining opportunities due to competition.
Right. Yeah. And it's really been exciting to see how that's evolved and emerged, and how people can really start helping each other out. So it's great. So my last question for you is, what advice would you give someone out there who's watching this video and thinking about, well, should I give Vistage a try or not? What advice would you give them for giving it a go?
My advice would be to call you and convince you to get them into a room as a pilot or a trial, or just like experience it for one day.
Yeah.
And just try it on for size and see if it fits what you're after. See if you can see yourself connecting with this group.
Right.
And really, that's the best way to do it, is simply experience it. All the Vistas literature is there. I mean, it's a well-known brand. They got a huge network. And so, I mean, it stands on its own.
Yeah.
But if you really want to see if this is for you, give that specific group a try, because so much has to do with the tone that the chair sets. And Rick, the reason I stick around is because you as a chair have been phenomenal. Like, you're a master curator, and you bring a lot of diverse perspectives in the room. The Vistage speakers, the trusted partners, like you bring it, and it's always so interesting. It always, like, those speakers and those topics come up when you need it the most.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you have that foresight, but it's always when we're actually confronted with very similar business challenges, you have people and resources available to help us navigate them. And that's been happening too consistent for me to think it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I just think it's your ability to curate and arrange.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for anyone that's interested in Vistage, give it a go and see for yourself.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Well, so thank you very much taking time out of your busy day and being with us. We appreciate it, and we'll charge on.
Thank you much for the time.
Okay, thanks.